Hey friends, good afternoon. This is your friend Adeel Rizvi here, and we are having a brand new episode of our weekly webinars. And today is a very, very special day because it's not just me over here, but I have a very, very big friend of mine, a great guy, and who has been kind enough to join us today on this webinar, Mr. Edward Zia. Hey Ed, how are you?
I am really good at Deal, and I can see on LinkedIn our stream just appeared. So I just want to say it's an honor to have you with us. And Adeel, I guess today I'm going to interview you. So the tables have been reversed on you, haven't they?
They have been reversed for this time, so we wanted to change the flavor a little bit. Usually, guys, as you know, I would interview people uh, on different topics, which may or may not be property related, and that's what we do normally. But today, Edward was kind enough, and he said that whatever we discussed in the background at backstage about property, he was kind enough to actually discuss that live over here, and hopefully we can add some value, isn't it, Ed?
Absolutely. And just so you know, everyone, I've got it all on LinkedIn Live, so I'm keeping an eye on what's going on. So if you've got any comments, please like, share, comment, and just give some context. Adeel and I have known each other for many years. He's a great guy. And Adeel, we've traveled Australia together, haven't we? We've gone to all sorts of crazy locations.
All those locations and all those weird times when we were at the airport like 4 in the morning and then catching the last flight back to Sydney because it closes at 10. Hopefully that
Yeah.
will change with the new airport. But yeah, some crazy things we have been doing together.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, and to give some more context as well, Adeel is an amazing property investor. He helps people buy investment properties and build their property portfolios. And we're talking a bit off camera, and Adeel, you're getting into helping people really build passive cash flow out of property. Tell us all about that, Adeel.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, that is a very fascinating topic for me, not just because of the cash flow we can generate using property, but it's also about what it can help us achieve. Cash flow is just a number that will be generated and it can be generated. I'm generating it for myself and I'm still on that journey of financial freedom and I'm showing other people how they can do it as well without falling in the pitfalls, without doing that emotional mistakes that can cost them like 50 or $100,000 or more. So that's exactly my passion because it allows them to do so much more with their lives. They can retire at their own age. They can do things that they love to do with their family. They can follow their hobbies, their passions. They can just live the life. That's what passive income is for me.
I got to say, I totally admire that. And now, the elephant in the room, we're talking about this again off camera, it's something we'll get into. Interest rates, cash flow. A lot of people, rightfully so, are impacted by this. And it's interesting, in being ex-government myself, and military, I can say this. Throughout history, whenever there's a war, interest rates always go through the roof. You've got Ukraine, you've got Israel, but it's been going on for years. Throughout human history, the moment there's a war, interest rates go up. You got to pay for the war somehow, right?
Yep.
Tell us all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Tell us all about interest rates. What is the honest good? What is the honest bad? And how does it impact what people are doing, Adeel?
I think interest rates are high. Cost of living has definitely gone up. You don't get the bread for the same price you used to get it like 12 months ago or 24 months ago. So definitely the cost of living is high. Petrol is high and it is hurting people. It is hurting the cash flow. It is hurting the budgets. There's no two thoughts about it. But what it also is causing with the rising interest rates, it is also making everything more expensive. And the building industry is not actually immune to it. I mean, it is also getting directly impacted. So the build costs started increasing because of COVID. At the time of COVID, when there were supply chain issues, we were not able to get imports done timely, and the building cost was going up because of the time frame delays. Now we have another pressure where the overall cost of building has gone up because of inflation. So that is like a domino effect. And what is that doing is it is making more and more expensive to build new dwellings across Australia. Whether you want to build a house, whether you want to build like a granny flat in your house, or whether you want to buy a brand new apartment, developers and builders are finding it harder and harder to actually develop new land and build new dwellings. That's the crux of it. And what that does is it is slowing down new developments. The immigration on the other side is thick and fast. People are just pouring into the country. Like last 12 months, close to 600,000 new immigrants have arrived in Australia. So
yeah. On that note, on that
yeah.
note, just jumping in there,
I know
Melbourne,
it's your favorite
right?
topic. I know you would
Melbourne.
actually ask me a question here.
Yeah, you know I was going to just jump in. I can't. And it's a bit funny. So I'm from Melbourne originally. I'm originally from St Kilda back in the day. And what I find fascinating about Melbourne is, and just being tragically honest here, Melbourne was awful 2 years ago. No money, nothing was worked. Now, recently, the population of Melbourne is now bigger than Sydney from all the students. And now the students are back. They're bringing in money. Melbourne's hustling and bustling again. So I find it fascinating. Melbourne went from a hollowed out shell to now it's all back in business with all the students in. Tell us more about Melbourne, how the students work. Because I know these students, they bring in tons of money. They buy houses. They obviously pay uni bills up front. They spend big in our healthcare. Tell us how that little student world works, because I find it absolutely fascinating.
I think looking at the economics of Australia, I think international students coming in is the third or fourth largest economic driver for our national economy. So it is just second to housing and probably something else, which I don't remember right now, but it is right there at the top. So students flowing in will not stop. And that also has to directly relate with migration. Governments make a lot of money when people migrate. People pay a lot of fees, they come in, they bring a lot of money with them, and that directly helps our economy. Governments will not slow down migration. I don't think so. They keep talking about it, that they want to slow it down.
Because just on that, I find it tragically funny. So we're having this conversation before. It's a bit like gambling, right? It's a bit like gambling. So governments and I used to, years ago, I actually once did a contract as a marketing director for one of the casinos in Australia. And I saw behind the scenes the government doublespeak, where it would be, the government would be, oh, gambling is bad and gambling this and those evil casinos and all that. You're the guys that created it, right? You're the guy. If it's so bad, then why don't you ban it, right? And to me, the whole immigration issue is the same. Like both sides are, as much as I'm a right-wing liberal, but as much as I'm a proud liberal, both sides, both Liberal and Labor, will turn around and say, oh no, we got to slow down immigration and those immigrants, blah 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 blah. But then over here, oh, keep coming in. They're making so much money out of it. No side of government's ever going to stop that. It's not going to happen, as much as they talk out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just go back to your initial question. You talked about the cost of living and high interest rates. So just finishing it off now. So yeah, cost of living is high, but the supply is not coming for new properties because of the issues we already discussed with developers and builders. The demand is so high because all these people pouring in like 500, 600,000 new people every year. Where will they live? They need a house to rent or buy. They will ultimately buy after 2 or 3 years, but they need housing and we don't have enough housing. So what is that doing is it's actually pushing the property prices higher and higher, especially in areas where you have multiple job opportunities, where people can actually travel within 20 or 30 minutes and they can do jobs like in healthcare sector. There are doctors, nurses, IT staff. There are people who are working in like networking and engineering side of things, people who are working in the government space, people who are working normal admin side of stuff. So there are different kind of areas where people do want to actually buy, and that's where the demand is really increasing in those areas, because people have multiple job opportunities and they can't see. I mean, it's more difficult to rent these days than to buy a property, to be honest. A property goes out on rent and there are probably 40, 50, 60 people putting applications out. That's true in Queensland, that's true in Perth, it's happening in Adelaide, it's happening in Sydney, also showing signs in Melbourne. So it is a bad situation to be in right now. But having said that, yes, cash flow is impacted, but the way the prices are going up, the way the market is, if you can take a step back and see how the prices are going up, this may be the time for you to actually think about considering what you can buy now.
Yeah. So you're saying that Melbourne's at the bottom of its cycle. Explain that to us.
Yeah. Melbourne is kind of sitting at the bottom of the cycle, and because every state has its own property cycle. And looking at the data, because we do a lot of data research, I can see that Melbourne pretty much is right at the bottom. So it may not have some huge growth in the next 1 or 2 years, but if you're looking to buy something long-term for the next 10 years kind of thing, I think Melbourne should be one of the top places where you should be looking at right now, especially because for the last 4 or 5 years, it has performed rather poorly across all the capital cities.
Yeah. Well, what I find is I go to Melbourne all the time to run our events and see clients and all that. And I remember, again, 2 years ago, Melbourne was a depressing place, right? And last time I was there, it's hustling and bustling. It's kind of like it was back in the day, right? Back in the day. So, which is awesome. It's great to see Melbourne back. And it's funny. So I was saying, how is this all happening? Ed, all the students are back in town. That's it. Full stop. All the students are back in town. That's it. They just absolutely drive the economy. And I was speaking to one of my friends is a very successful general manager, and he runs quite a few hotels, and he knows all the stuff inside. He was saying, yeah, you got to think about it, Ed. When a rich student comes into town, they pay upfront for uni. All their healthcare they pay upfront for. They buy property, houses. They get lots of money in from overseas. And me running hotels, a lot of them will book crazy parties at our hotels and everything. And I'm like, wow. So he sort of opened this world of the wealthy student to me. So I found it just totally fascinating.
It does. And if you look at the data of where these students and these new migrants are coming from, most of them are coming from these Asian countries.
Oh, and the UK. It's also just jumping in, a lot are actually coming from the UK as well.
Yep. When you mentioned about those wealthy students, that's what reminds me about all those people coming from different countries of Asia, like China, like Hong Kong, like these kind of places. And when you compare the buying power of those countries with Australia, they have some serious money with them. A lot of people think that students will come in and they will only rent a property.
No.
On ground, we are seeing situations where when sellers are actually, I'm talking to a lot of real estate agents, and what they give me as a feedback is the sellers will ask them, hey, is there any Chinese people who have actually registered for the auction? And I'm not trying to here. I'm just trying to share what I'm getting feedback from the grounds. And a lot of sellers are happy that Chinese bidders are coming into the auctions because they are driving prices up. They have deep pockets. And this will not slow down. This will keep continuing up. So how people can create wealth, I mean, that is where they need to really understand what their cash flow situation is. I know they have high cost of living, but that's the discussion I'm having with a lot of people. And just to give some value to people out there who are listening to this webinar, 80% of the people I talk to, Ed, all they need is to fund an extra $200 to $300 every single week for the next 12 to 18 months, which is like paying an extra 10 to 15 grand just as a holding cost if they buy a property today. If they buy in the right location, they can actually make at least 7 to 10 times of that money they spent over the next 12 months. So it's a no-brainer for me. It's like a business. You spend an extra 10 to 15 grand over the next 12 months just as a holding cost to hold that property because your interest rates are high. You have to pay your council rates and all that. I understand that, and insurances. But that is allowing you to make an extra 70, 80, 90 grand in the next 12 months. That is the kind of opportunity which is happening right now in Australia.
And tell us about that legendary nurse friend of yours. You were talking about one of your original clients from some time back. She's a nurse, and she's killing us, obviously protecting the confidentiality of it. Please tell us what you can tell us.
You reminded me, good thing. I mean, let me find it out. I know we were talking about it on Monday this week, and thanks for bringing it up. Actually, my team would be actually posting her story on the socials, I think today or tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll actually quickly, I have something up over here that we would be sharing, but I'm happy to share it with you. So the story with this lady, now, the problem that she was facing, she was a nurse. She had her lifelong savings, and she had seen her brother lost a lot of money in real estate. Now, her brother, what he did was he invested with someone who was like a dodgy developer, not did the right due diligence, and they tried to buy a house and land package. He put down like 140 grand kind of thing to that developer. And for the next 4 years, he could not get any money back. The land was never developed, so he could never build on top of it. So he essentially lost all of that money.
Yeah, so and can I jump in there for a second, right?
Sorry?
One of my friends works for Meriton, right? He's actually in their one of the commercial departments. And interestingly, we were talking about this at one of our kids' birthday parties, and he was saying exactly that. You get all these dodgy little developers come up. Some of them are great, but a lot of them have no backing.
I would reiterate that some of them are amazing. I mean, when people come to me saying they want to buy a brand new, there are some people I can directly recommend because I trust their work. They have good reputation. They've done some amazing work. So all of them are not the same. Let me put that out there.
I suppose my question is, how do you verify that developer? Because again, there's a lot of fantastic developers out there. I've got a lot of them as friends and clients. How do you verify that that developer's legit and not going to do that to you?
I think simple, just like any due diligence, just understand what they've done before, what kind of projects they've delivered. If they promise to deliver something in 2 years, have they done that in 2 years or not? And if your developer has done that for 15 times, and that was like multi-billion dollar kind of deals, then I would have really good confidence in those developers and I would safely put my money in there.
Yeah.
I think that's a simple tip I can give anyone who is looking to buy something brand new only. But that's where the cash flow side of things come as well. So just answering your question about the nurse, and I just brought it up as well for you. Her brother lost money to a dodgy developer, never got that money back. That was his lifelong savings. She was extremely nervous, extremely fearful. Yeah. She thought property investing is always a gimmick. It will never work. It cannot work. And that's when we got introduced to her. We convinced her with the plan and the strategy that we can do for her. And I identified to her that how we find growth areas, what data points do we look at, where we can actually forecast future growth, not just the past growth. And she decided, reluctantly, I would say, to put down her savings, which were like lifelong savings at the time, of close to $100,000 or even less than 100. Yeah, it says 94 grand over here. And just because she bought the right property in the right area, that investment for her has tripled in value in terms of what she invested. So she invested close to 100 grand. Now she has savings of close to 300 grand just because of that one single purchase. She still continues to do her normal day and night job as a nurse. She still continues to live in an apartment in Sydney. But this property, which is interstate, not in Sydney, has done amazingly well. And she can't be any more happier. And this has all happened when the interest rates were rising. I remember when we settled on a property, that was May 2022. If some of those people remember watching here, May 22 was the first ever time in this current cycle when RBA said, we are pulling the interest rates up. It may be short-lived, but we are putting it now. So that's when it started happening. And even though the interest rates have been going up, inflation has been going up, her property has gone up. And that is exactly the life scenario of how interest rates actually push property prices even higher.
Yeah, just jumping in as well. Wonderful Lassie, who's on the live stream. We love you, Lassie. You're amazing. Lassie's actually on the live stream.
Yeah, Lassie.
Lassie's on the live stream. She made a great comment. Fascinating how our economy works. We rely so much on uni students from around the world. So going back to what we were saying earlier, it's actually really blown my mind. I never realized how important uni students are to Australia, right? And what I remember you saying as well, and great comment, Lassie. Thank you. If you just come in, like, share, comment, say hello.
No, thanks very much, Lassie, for chipping in.
Yeah, do you want to react to that? Do you want to react to that more? Because I know I find the whole uni student thing fascinating because they bring in so much. I've met some of them face to face. So give you some context. We've had a few come to our meetups, and they tell me straight up how much money they're bringing in. Give us some more context on that one, because it's really the talk.
I can share my own client story, to be honest with you, with this uni students thing.
Please.
In the beginning of this year, we helped someone buy a house. Now, their requirement was that they wanted to buy something which has not been occupied before. So we helped them source the right property.
Yeah.
It was brand new in a high growth area. And their budget was $1.2 million. And that was a cash purchase.
Yeah.
And that was a uni student. So he still is on a temporary visa, as a student visa. His father funded all of that. His father has a big business in the Middle East. And he funded that by cash because he wanted to make his cash work. So people from overseas are also investing money in here as long as they know what kind of asset they should be really buying. So as I said, students may be you may get deceived that they are a student only, but I have examples where they're getting into those hundreds and thousands of dollar investments. And it's not a small thing. It's a really challenge for people who are living and making their money over here, the permanent residents, the citizens of this country. It is a challenge for them. I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I come from an Arabic background myself, Arabic Middle Eastern background.
Sorry, I meant Middle East over there.
Of course, you said the A word, us legendary Arabs, right? Anyway, I got to be careful, obviously protecting their details. But one of our clients is a very wealthy Arab, and
I think I know who you're talking about, but I won't take any names.
But anyway,
he's a great guy. If that's the same person.
Yeah, if you are watching, we think you're really good looking and we love you, right? Anyway, And what's fascinating is that, own massive businesses in the Middle East, and exactly that here. So as they come in, buy businesses in cash, go to uni, they pay top dollar amount. And I find it fascinating because one of our other friends and clients is actually a migration agent. And as a migration agent, I get to see behind the hood, right? And what's interesting about it is basically, if you got the money, you're coming into Australia. If you can basically, he was actually showing me saying, Ed, and this is legal, by the way. Basically, if you buy this, it was almost like a menu of a restaurant, right? Either buy an apartment, buy a business, or buy an apartment, sign up for 5 years of uni, pay 3 years in advance. Basically, it's like a restaurant. You're in guaranteed. And I'm like, wow, so it's just pay to play, isn't it?
It is. And see, it is a tough market to crack right now. I would say people are getting really confused with how the property market is going. I only see it going one way, as you said, because the competition is not local. The competition is coming from overseas as well. And the government talks about putting a stop on overseas people investing from overseas. Things like that. But trust me,
it's like there's evil casinos, huh? Like how long? This is the favorite government doublespeak. And a casino is a great example. Those evil casinos, those horrible people.
Yep.
And they but the casinos keep getting bigger. Like, okay, so hi government, you're making the casinos bigger while at the same time saying how evil and bad they are.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it is a trite market for people. I think the best way forward for people who are considering trying to create wealth using property, trying to create that passive income streams through property. I mean, there are other ways of doing it as well. They can go into different asset classes if they like. I only talk about property and I can only advise about property. So if they want to do something around property, they should talk to the right mortgage broker, try to understand their strategy. They can even come to us or to anyone else and have a chat where they are.
Just jumping in there, Adeel, and again, Adeel and I have been friends for years, so I can say this. Even if they don't have the mortgage brokers, they can go to you because you've got your own network of trusted people, don't you, Adeel?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely we can do that as well, because I work with multiple mortgage brokers depending on, everyone specializes in a different area. So depending on what the client is coming with, what their situation is, whether they are a business owner, whether they are a PAYG employee, whether they are a contractor, I can actually connect you with the right professionals who can give you the advice according to your situation. So that's very true, Ed. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, awesome. Now, Adeel, like I say, I love your work. We've crossed, of course, the 22-minute mark, and we like keeping our live streams tight. So, Adeel, what's it like being on the other end? Because usually you're interviewing people. This time I've been bashing you around the head with the LinkedIn live stream baseball bat. How does it feel?
It feels amazing, man. I mean, thank you so very much for coming over and being the host for us today. I'm sure people would have got some kind of value over there. I always talk about, my last tip is for people who want to get into investing, invest in something, invest in anything. If not property, then something else. You need 3 things to have the right investment going for you. And I call it the nice abbreviation of MCG. Now, everyone has heard about MCG, but I have my own abbreviation of MCG.
And for our friends around the world, just to be clear, so the MCG is a reference to the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is the big centre in Melbourne. Sorry, carry on.
Yep. I have done it myself. So for me, MCG is more about, M is for mindset. So you should have a growth mindset, not a savings mindset. If you try to keep saving your money in a bank account, just if this nurse would have tried to save her money from 94,000 and just left it in the bank account for 2 years, it would have been probably worth around 80,000 today because of the inflation. She actually went for growth. So when you go for growth, you actually invest. Can be property, can be something else, doesn't really matter, as long as you understand that particular type of asset class. So you need to have the right mindset, which is a growth mindset, not a saving mindset. Number 2, you need to understand your cash flow. If you will enter into any kind of investment, how will that impact your cash flow for the first 12 months, for the first couple of years? That is absolutely critical, because once you have nailed those first 1 or 2 years, your investment becomes an autopilot. It becomes much easier, it becomes much more comfortable, and that is where you are like riding the wave. And the last but not the least, your goals. Why do you want to come into investment? What will it help you achieve? My job is to make sure that I can guide people through passive income generation so that they can retire at their own terms, whether they want to retire at 45 or 50 or whether they want to retire with a big super balance of, let's say, $2 million, $3 billion, we can help you achieve all of that. But you need to have some kind of goal. And if you don't have a goal, we can help you guide through it as well. So MCG is my abbreviation for investing. So people need to have the right mindset, understand their cash flow, and have the right goals in place.
Yeah. And credit to your nurse friend, right? Instead of her doing it on her own, she got a professional like herself. And this is way before we met, but one of our old clients is, they do a lot of buying, right? And
Yep.
she helped me out before we met in buying an investment property, which is we have is kicking butt to this day. And what was interesting, I'm so glad I used her because of what I was going to pay, she got the property for $15,000 less.
There you go.
And I'm like, that is why I use a professional like Adeel. And credit to the nurse, instead of her just trying to do it herself and blow all her money, she spoke to a professional like you. So Adeel, I'm going to say you are very in the zone, my friend, and I love your work.
Oh, thank you so very much, Ed. Love your leadership, mate. Love the work you've been doing around the community. I mean, you have your own big community, and I'm proud to be a part of that big community. I'm really humble and really grateful for you giving your time today and sharing your insights as well around Melbourne and around the Australian economy as well.
Yeah. And again, the reason why I bring up Melbourne is I'm very close to Melbourne. And just in the space of 6 months, it went from a ghost town to hustling and bustling. So that rapid turnaround I've just found personally fascinating.
It is. It's a beautiful city, no doubt about it.
There you go. But Adeel, thank you so much. And to our friends watching, we're actually streaming from Adeel's account. So Adeel, I can't end the stream. So I'm now going to officially hand the stream back to you so you can finish up and actually hit the end stream button.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thanks for your time. And thanks everyone for tuning in, for watching. If you have any questions, any feedback, as Ed mentioned before, please share that across. Please put that in the comments. And I would love to come back with an answer. Or if it's a question for Ed, I'm sure he would love to take your questions as well. But try taking actions. Try move forward and take an action, because this is the best time. You don't know what's going to happen in future, but you can actually carve your own future. That's what I would say. And I will leave it at this point of time. Thanks, Ed, for joining. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We will end the stream now. I look forward to seeing you, Ed, on Friday. Take care.
Love your work. Love your work, everyone. Appreciate you.
Bye.